Well, it is always a blessing to sing with you all. This is a little bit like heaven when you get individual pieces of Christ's church from all different locations together. It's going to be a little bit what it's like in heaven. The thing we're missing are the people from every kindred and tongue and tribe and nation. Most of you look like you're from here. But it's a wonderful thing. And I was speaking with someone this week that had just gotten back from a journey to the other world, the third world, whatever you want to call it. And they talked about how wonderful it was to see the people that are so unlike us, both in their customs, their dress, their color, their look, their food, but they have that same love for Jesus Christ. And it's just amazing how that makes us one. If you'd open in your Bibles to the Gospel by Mark. It's not the Gospel of Mark, it's by Mark, but it's the Gospel of Christ, and he's just one of the ones who captured it. By the way, Mark captured it's actually Peter's Gospel. It should be called the Book of Peter, but Peter, being the one who denied the Lord, didn't want to be a Gospel writer, so he dictated it to Mark. As Mark sat next to him, most likely during his final days, as he had been hunted down by the Roman government, because he was one of the most well-known Christians, followers of Christ. He was known as the captain, the head of the 12 great apostles. And so Peter had been hunted for a long time. And probably before or during that time of captivity, he sat down with John Mark, who he had led to the Lord. Mark, the one that traveled with Paul, had been led to Christ. If you read 1 Peter, he calls him his son in the faith. But Mark captures this eyewitness account. And that's how we know Mark really wasn't there, but Peter was. And you see Peter remembering the incidents of Christ's life. In chapter 3, and in just a little bit, we're going to get to verse 28. This is one of what I consider, and this morning I'd like to talk to you about the miracle of complete forgiveness. I believe it's the greatest miracle of all. Christ did many miracles, but this is the greatest one of all. And this morning it's not academic. This is not for you to check off, I know all that. This is more of a responsive, have you experienced the benefits? Do you know? Not academically, but do you know experientially the greatest miracle of all? I tell a lot of people that when I witness to them that most people are going to miss heaven by 18 inches, especially most Americans, because most Americans have heard the gospel. I mean, there's a Gideon Bible in almost every hotel room. Billy Graham has been on the TV ever since before I was born, and they have reruns, and he's still around. There's the gospel everywhere. People pass out hundreds of millions of tracts. It's on TV, and it just gets this far with most people. And the distance between here and here is 18 inches, experiencing and just knowing. And I'm afraid, as Jesus Christ said in Matthew 7, Jesus said in Matthew 7, the end of the chapter, he said, at the judgment, there'll be many church people there. And they'll say, Lord, Lord, did we not sing in the choir? Did we not teach Sunday school? Did we not volunteer in children's ministry? Lord, Lord, did we not give great amounts of our money and support all kinds of things? And he'll say, yes, you did all that. But you never knew me. You knew about me, but you didn't know me. Sometime, if you want to do a little Bible study, you can use the dictionary. The Webster's Dictionary defines to know, the verb to know, K-N-O-W, as having three levels. There is recognition, acquaintance, and experience. It says you can recognize the Eiffel Tower. You can be acquainted with it, you've touched it, but to experience it, you would have to have been part of that wonder of building that thing in the center, in the heart of the City of Lights in Paris. I remember when Ronald Reagan came and spoke as a presidential candidate, the governor of California, at the school where I was attending in South Carolina. And I remember I had recognized him from afar. I horned my way into the line like this and shook his hand, and Nancy's too, so I guess I could say I was acquainted with him, but I had never experienced him. When I was in California, one of the sad regrets I have, I was with John MacArthur at Grace Community Church, and one of the people at Grace in my Sunday school class said, "Hey, do you and Bonnie want to go to lunch with me on Tuesday?" I said, "Oh, I'm just so busy. I've got to read my Bible and everything." They said, "Oh, you'll want to come. Please come with us for lunch." I said, "I don't know, Bonnie, do you want to go?" And she said, "Oh, I'm not sure. I've got to fold clothes and do dishes." And so we said, "No, we can't do that." The next Sunday she said, "Well, because of security, I couldn't tell you what it is," but she said, "I was having lunch with Ron and Nancy at the Rancho di Cielo, the Reagans in their ranch in Santa Barbara." And she said, "I could bring any couple I wanted." And I told them I was going to bring you two. Oh, I wish we hadn't read our Bible and done the laundry that day. But that would have even been not even experiencing them. You see, there are a few things that you can only know by experience. One of them is pain and another is hunger. How can you describe hunger to someone that's never hungered? How can you tell your pain? You try and describe it to the doctor. You say, and he listens to you. But usually most people, only you know that pain. Only you know the gnawing of hunger. Salvation, only you can know. I always tell people that just because you've been to a wedding doesn't mean you're married. Just because you've been in a garage doesn't make you a car. And a lot of people think that because they're in a Christian family or in church or even here that they're a believer, but they've never experienced the miracle of complete forgiveness.